Hello, friends. I want to speak to you now about something really dear to my heart and important to me. I'm 78, and I know I'm in the latter years of my life. And when I look back over my really wonderful, extraordinary life, the journey I have made from a very ordinary person to going through a kind of experience, an awakening kind of experience, and suddenly becoming able to transmit an energy and transmit a wisdom that, of course, I've had to learn and through my living. In the course of 1977, when I awakened, to today, I've written 7 books. The first book was called The I That Is We, because the nature of that first awakening experience was such that I understood that I was not just a separate self individual. I was an experience of consciousness emerging out of connection to everyone and everything, to the natural order, to deep currents that belong to all human beings and beyond, because that was the nature of the awakening. And at the point I wrote that book, I had now been teaching for almost 4 or 5 years. People had been coming to me. They were interested to sit with me. They were interested in doing meditation, and all of them kind of radical things that I was doing to try to get people to that point with this energy, this experience of opening and awakening was there to taste, to have direct experience of. And as I was doing that, and as the years progressed, many people came to me because I was a doctor, and they were trying to find help. They had cancer, they had Parkinson, they had AIDS. They were trying to find a complement to Western medicine. They were trying to find something that had to do with their own proactive empowerment. And that was obvious in the work we were doing. And so I began to be with people with serious illness and saw to what extent activating these energies, bringing them home to themselves, teaching them a relationship to themselves was so empowering and sometimes literally put them into remission from disease. Obviously, that was an exceptional thing that happened sometimes, but everyone, really, literally all of them, everyone, found that their ability to live their lives through that very deep process that often also ended up in dying suddenly had a living energy and it had a purpose in it, and it gave them heart, it gave them courage. And so that was the birth of the second book, How Shall I Live? Then fast forward a few more years, more and more work with people. And I wrote the book, The Black Butterfly, really looking at what was the experience I had? What did it show me? How is it universal? Where can we find it in other traditions and texts? How can you live it today? And my retreats were all the more experiential, all the more grounded. They were exceptional. I don't know that any other teacher on the planet was doing what I was doing in the 80s and 90s and 2000s. But now I'm not doing those kinds of retreats because to integrate that kind of energy, hold it, bring people to it, is the work of a younger man. Around in the mid 1990s, I started my fourth book called The Second Miracle. It was my first real effort to try to really understand the difference between basic ego consciousness that takes 8 or 9 years to be fully constellated in us, and a deeper radical awareness, a deeper consciousness that is actually how we transform ourselves and how we come back to the ground of ourselves. And that book, The Second Miracle, was the fourth of those. So what we're trying to do now is raise the money necessary needed to put these books back into print as ebooks, as print books, but also I'm going to narrate some of them and make them into audiobooks. And if I'm successful in that, then go to my newer books, The Mandala of Being and Inside Out Healing, and narrate those as audiobooks. But to do this, I need financial help. That's why we're now launching a GoFundMe crowdfunding project. So join us in this venture. Help us raise this money. We will be sending out to everyone who donates a message from me, keeping you up to date on how I'm doing with this narration process. I'm not the same man that wrote the first book published in 1982. I'm a deep different man. Yet the very thing that I was trying to write in those books has always been the essence of what awakened in me, where the ground of my being lives and what I share. It'd be interesting. At first, I was really not wanting to try to narrate these things because I read them and I said, "Ugh, I don't write like this anymore. I don't want to." But my heart's open to it. I see it as a wonderful play to visit this guy that I'm not anymore, but who was doing his best at that time to do the things I'm still doing now in a different way and with a different writing style. Play with me with this. Help as much as you can. If my teaching has been valuable to you, if those books at one point in your life really made a difference, then let's make them available for the next generations. This is timeless, contemporary spiritual wisdom. It's practical, it's grounded, it can help people. So many people over the years have told me how that book spoke to them, how it made sense to them, how it helped them bring their lives into coherence. And now they're hard to find. That's just because if a book doesn't keep selling like mad, it can't be on a bookshelf. And you can't keep up with all the new books coming out. But there are so few books that come out of the kind of space that I awakened into and then got to share like an innocent, you know, no presumptions, no Zen training, no Buddhist training, no any other training. Just awareness, intelligence, heart, and the love of the process that is possible for us. Don't you want your children to read it, or your grandchildren, or your nephews, or anyone that you know who could benefit from just having this on their bookshelf for the day they're ready? They're ready to read it and have it impact their lives. Please help. I will be so grateful. I'm looking forward to the adventure of it. Thank you.